right? This is part 2 on the Osirian, the crazy mysterious site in ancient Egypt that is not open to the public, and nobody knows really when it was built or by who. If you haven't seen part 1, I suggest go back and looking at that, because there's lots of cool stuff about the water, how deep the 5-story complex goes. But this is more about why it is contested how old this thing is, and potentially could be really old, because we don't know. Anyway, let's recap. So this is the Osirian site complex as taken from current ground level. So this is if you're standing at the back of the Temple of Osiris, which is a Middle Kingdom temple complex, beautiful temple, the current ground level looking down into the Osirian. This is the top of a 5-story, 15-meter complex full of water that they cannot pump out because it is being constantly filled up by an ancient aquifer. So this is the Temple of Osiris, which is the Middle Kingdom temple. It is beautiful. Look at this. It is at current ground level. The pillars are made of beautiful, small little chunks of limestone, I believe. And the entire complex is carved with the most colourful, ornate Egyptian. This is a stunning temple. It is nothing like the temple out the back underground. Nothing architecturally links these two temples together. So it is difficult to see how they could have been made by the same people. What's also interesting is the shape of the Temple of Osiris is nothing like any other temple site in Egypt. All the other temples tend to be in a straight line or like a kind of rectangle shape. The Temple of Osiris is in an L shape. I'll show you from above. Wow. This is the Middle Kingdom temple as seen from above, and you can see that instead of continuing straight as following the form of all other ancient Egyptian temples, it suddenly veers and creates this L shape. And after the temple, not connected to the temple, there is distinctly not connected in any way the Osirian and the Temple of Seti, or Seti's temple. Also, you can see that they're not even aligned. So if you were going to design a 2-temple complex system, why not align them? Because you really could. It would just shuffle it a little bit. You can see that it is on the wonk. So it is contested which temple came first. Here is another view from kind of bird's eye. You can see the Middle Kingdom temple and then the Osirian behind. Now, this is apparently the area that's highlighted is the area that you would need, the space you would need in order to dig the 15-meter 5-story complex that is the Osirian. So if you were going to build the Osirian after the fact from the temple that is above, you would need this amount of space in which to do it. So according to the scientists who were like working out this archaeology, it's impossible that the Osirian was built after the fact from the Middle Kingdom temple. It had to have been there first because physically they're too close together yet not connected to be able to be. Do you see what I mean? What am I trying to say? Do you see what I mean? Basically, you need that much space to build the first one. So therefore, according to that, this has to be. That was a very long way of saying that. You get what I mean. So there is a theory that Seti, when he was building his Middle Kingdom temple, they were laying the foundations and setting it all up, and then they were digging down and they hit the top of the old Osirian temple, and then they had to rearrange the design of their temple and make it kind of fit in this shape. There are arguments saying that this shape is obscure for a purpose and that there's like esoteric meaning behind it, so it's up to you which you prefer. But it is possible that they had to redesign the one above ground because of the one below. Now, at the front end of the Osirian complex, you can go through a doorway and into a hall which has a granite vaulted ceiling, very similar to the ceilings that we find in Giza. So over here, we have an image from the second pyramid in the Giza plateau. And here we have the vaulted ceiling from the chamber of the Osirian. They both contain 30-degree triangle vaulted ceilings. Now, why this is weird is because according to the mainstream timeline, these pyramids were built thousands of years before the potential timeline of the Osirian. So at least we're looking at an old kingdom build for the Osirian, according to the look-alike architecture. However, of course, the pyramids are contested for being however old. So if the pyramids get pushed back a couple thousand years, therefore potentially so does the Assyrian. And just to really show you the difference of architectural style between the temple above ground and below, here we have huge megalithic, precision cut, 70-ton pillars, and there are a lot of them. No inscriptions, no hieroglyphs that are original to the Assyrian. It's not giving the same designer. You know what I mean? Again, this is me. I'm nearly 6 foot in those shoes. This is how huge this temple site is. Sorry, I'm so excited. Now, there is one other site in Egypt that looks very similar to the style of the Assyrian, and that is the Valley Temple, which is the temple in front of the Sphinx. Now, we know that the Sphinx is contested date-wise because we have records of the Sphinx being repaired in the 4th dynasty, which, why are you repairing something that you apparently just built? So there's some questionable questions to be asked there. But also look at the style. There is 0 hieroglyphs. The wall pattern on the side is very similar. The fact that it's like shaped with the pillars, you can see what I see. So I would say there's a really good argument that the Assyrian is at least Old Kingdom. At least. And we can contest even that. So what do you think? How old do you think the Assyrian is based on the style? Let me know. Ancient Egypt is really famous for building up, like the pyramids, but actually what I think is even cooler is the fact that they built down. You have huge 100-foot, 125-foot shafts and sort of complexes underneath the Giza Plateau. And clearly at the Assyrian, we have a 15-meter, 5-story complex that's underneath. So I would bet all of my money that there are probably literal cities and structures underneath the sand and way out into the Sahara Desert that we just know nothing about. And I, for one, petition that we scan it all. Like they're scanning the Amazon. We need to scan the Sahara Desert because we're going to find stuff underneath, 100%. Mark my words.